million times. Going undercover in London brothels. I wanted to watch this like 5 times now, man. And now I'm eating, so I can finish it. Let's watch that, and then we start with gaming. When you get interviewed for the second part of the Haldog Menu, can you live stream that? Probably not, no. Probably not. Yo, Tommy, what's the location of these brothels? Just for research. Dude, London, they probably have one at every corner. Will you watch Michael Reeves videos? Who's that? I'm so surprised at how good you remembered it. Which one? What?
The customer base for the...
I can take you to one place. You can choose one girl out of 10 of them, and we can go to another place and choose 2 to 3 girls. Basically, choose the best ones.
You're looking at a brothel documentary while
we know
I'm sucking off a chicken.
What made this the story was really the fact that they were being trapped.
What I don't get about Vice documentaries, how are they only 8 minutes long? I'm not a journalist, but wouldn't a big topic that you research for months as a journalist take more than 8 minutes to be looked into, you know?
Trafficked and held against it.
Favorite part of the chicken? The chicken leg. Come on, bro. You just take it, the drum roll.
The customer base for these women stretches to famous footballers, politicians, and serious business tycoons in it.
I gotta be honest, I never even thought about that. In my mind, the people that go to brothels are always like old men losers, or you know, the Habibis, me and the boys, the boys, you know? I never really thought about rich people and stuff, but that makes sense. That makes actually total sense, man. That kind of woke me up a bit. Obviously, rich motherfuckers get a lot of prostitutes, dude.
This country.
These women have to service men, and we're talking sometimes, 30 men a night. That's a lot.
30 per night, man, dude. That's only half what your mom...
230 a week.
These aren't just small operations. We're talking hundreds of millions of pounds.
So much money involved, dude.
In these affluent areas, and these women aren't seeing any of it.
That's not okay, man.
I'm Lucy Watson.
And my mom doesn't even get paid.
A correspondent for ITV News. Exposing the dark underbelly of society is something I feel very strongly about.
I'm Tam Hussein. I'm an investigative journalist for ITV News. The night I got the story, we'd been out on an awards night and we stepped out of the taxi. And the first thing that happens is one of these guys comes up and says to me, "Look, man, do you want something?"
Free drinks. 2 minutes from me is a high class.
This guy, of course, offered me drugs and sex. So I said to him, "Listen, man, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you doing this?" Turns out that he was very, very well educated.
Lisa's texting me. It's probably about women's rights. How do I turn the PlayStation off when I'm in the main menu? Lisa, you press the PlayStation button, and then a new menu pops up, and the bottom right is the turn off button. PlayStation button. And then you get to new menu, I think.
And he was just caught in this situation.
I'm playing UFC today.
And I said, "Look, man, why don't we expose this?"
I remember getting the call from Tam. I was sitting in my kitchen and he told me all about this meeting, this guy, and what he thought the story was.
Lisa plays a lot of Call of Duty, man. She's a console auto aimer.
I was instantly excited by it. I wanted to expose it. I wanted to know more. After the guy approached Tam,
but what are you exposing? Everybody knows that there's some shady shit happening in the red light district, right?
Start digging, and
next they're gonna tell us that mostly East Europeans are working there and they get paid very shitty.
Just map out these houses.
Who would have thought?
To get the footage
Let's see.
in the brothel, we had to, of course, go into one. The area where we discovered these brothels is probably one of the most affluent areas in London. It's one of the most...
No matter where you're from society, everybody wants to fuck, man. Rich or poor.
You only need to drive down the street on any night of the week and there are Ferraris. It's the playground for the rich, the famous, and royalty. We discovered in a very small area...
Mayfair. Wait. I know London a bit.
Famous and royalty. We discovered in a very
pretty center.
small area.
It's pretty center,
15 to 20 brothals and at least 5
15 to 20
10 women in these
brothels
every single night.
This is a very, very sophisticated network that goes all the way back to Eastern Europe and Albania.
We all know that prostitution exists and many women do it out of choice. We were not exposing that. What we wanted to expose was the fact that so many women in this country are used in this industry against
that just cannot be, man. Where are the authorities, bro?
They train them until they are 18 in Romania, and then they sell them in the Western country.
I don't. The world is so dark lately, man. I feel like it's the darkest time ever about news. They train women? How do you train a prostitute? That sounds fucking dark, man. Training them, and when they're 18, they go over. So it's not against the pedophile laws, you know? It's a fuck, man. There's so much evil on this planet, man, and the good people look away way too much.
And it's very difficult to
We're living
help
in
them
Warhammer
when
2K,
they
that's a
are
good one.
in your countries, because they've been in this situation for 4 or 5 years. There is no other life they know.
These girls were groomed from a very, very young age. They think they're going to have a great job. They'll send them to places like Amsterdam, London. But actually, you know, they go into prostitution because they have to pay this debt off.
And that's also, look, I don't know shit. I obviously shouldn't have an opinion, but I always felt like, even if I want to go to a prostitute, even if I'm like, today I'm going to get my dick sucked by a prostitute, shouldn't you have the moral intelligence to know that you should really be careful? Like, there's a high chance that that girl that sucks your pee-pee probably went through a lot of fucking dog shit, and now you're exploiting that. I think people that go to brothels in Europe should really, you know, it's like, it sounds so fucked up, right? But nowadays you're supposed to buy higher quality meat, which costs more money, but the meat is better for the environment. Maybe you have to pay a bit more for your prostitutes to make sure that they actually have not been groomed in fucking Romania. Is that weird? Is that... Alright? If you get your dick sucked in a brothel, you have an ethical responsibility, man. Okay? Thank you, Sven.
They're quite often held here under a debt bond.
But do you think horny
which is basically anything
rich people and horny people
has
care about morals?
spent,
Yeah.
Plane ticket, a ferry ticket, petrol
Horny brain gives you
tank
minus 60
here,
intelligence anyway.
chewing gum, a cigarette, makeup. All of these costs mount up, and there's interest. They can never pay this off. And then that threat
Blackmail,
goes
always
back
blackmail.
to their family.
You could even give them their passport, it's fine. Because all this gang member needs to do is just show a picture of her mum and say, look, we're 10 minutes away. That's it. She's not going to go anywhere.
When you're in the area,
They're living in
of
legit
Mayfair,
hell, man.
It's not as simple
And no one
as
cares
just
about them.
going out with a secret camera and filming this activity. Quite often, street sellers, beggars are the eyes and the ears of these.
We need fair
organised
trade
crime
pussy?
groups.
In a way we
they
do,
are
yeah.
clocking your behaviour.
You know, I don't think anyone wants to get involved with the Albanian gangs. I think that was the risk. We went to a place where this eccentric man comes up with these different cameras. It's something out of James Bond, you know, and you'd give your shirt and he'd rig it up. Or he'd put a little camera on your button and he'll talk you through what you have to do. So we had my colleague who you see filming with me.
And their story was
I was showing my northern friend what London life was like.
they were on a night out. The businessman from the north wanted a prostitute and wanted to pay for it. Tam was going to facilitate that because he had contacts. He knew pimps in this area.
I built up a relationship with one of the drivers who we see in the film, who then took us. He calls himself a driver, it's a euphemism for pimp. When you go in, it's not like a luxury flat with really, really nice furniture. You go in and there's 10 to 15 girls just sitting in front of you.
Like, how can you get fucking hard there, man? You have to be... I'm gonna say it as I think it is. If I would go... I don't want to put myself in a good light, but it's not that hard, right, to be a good person. When I go into that room, how the fuck could you get horny? I will just be fucking sad. Like, holy shit, look at them. They are dead in their faces. They probably went through some bad shit. And I believe you gotta have a bit of evil in your brain to, without a fuck, just go in there and get laid with that. You gotta be a bit fucked in the brain. You gotta be a bit of an evil cunt, you know? Like, anyone with moral looks at this and is not gonna go like, yeah, bitches, let's suck the dick. Like, what? You gotta be a bit fucked up in the membrane, man. You gotta be a bit Putin, you know?
And it's a bizarre thing when you know, the girls just come in and they're sitting there and you have to choose. It's quite dehumanizing.
The people who are paying for sex are paying around £300 an hour.
£300 an hour? Bro! £300? You know how many magic cards that is? Alter. That's why I always tell you when you subscribe to me, man. You could have used that money for much...
Politicians, footballers that you and I know of, you know instantly are using this.
Often these men are drunk, and then when they're taken to the brothels, they are offered drugs for free if they're paying for the women. These men aren't just handing over cash either, they are handing over credit cards. Sometimes these men can be there for days because they are so drugged up, but they're paying an hourly rate.
Well, I always felt like if I would go to a brothel, I would be super scared that they try to like rob me or something. I wouldn't feel very safe.
So they can come out of there days later having spent tens of thousands of pounds, and they can't exactly go and explain to the police or their loved ones,
blackmail.
Oh, this is where all the money's gone.
I suppose the brazenness of the whole thing. So we've got, you know, being offered the girls, being offered the code.
Yeah, I devoured the chicken.
And then when we go there, you've got the girl all lined up.
We had the footage analysed, and there were clear indicators that these women were being held against their will. There was a woman who would sit in the corner of the room and she would be monitoring the women's behaviour.
Maxwell over here,
Out of the 5, we managed to determine that probably at least 3, maybe 4, were from Romania. That seems to be where the vast majority of women who are used in brothels are coming from.
Romanians are the main European population that is being exploited in the UK. The promise of a better life turns into a nightmare. There's no way that they can go back home because there's this pressure and this shame. Then not only are you a failure in your eyes, but you're a failure in the community's eyes and the family's eyes.
This investigation didn't just happen overnight.
And dude, I know some of you guys will hate when I say this, but I really, in this regard, I really get feminism, man. This looks to me like a system where men massively exploit a women that women have, right? You're not gonna find this is probably 99.9% men that profit from this inhumane, horrifying system, man. And
it took nearly 6 months from
imagine
when
men
we
will
first had that
control their
conversation.
penises a bit more.
So this story came out.
Probably this wouldn't be that bad.
In September.
The purpose of doing an investigation like this is about increasing the public, the authorities' understanding of the situations that these women...
I hope I'm wrong, but I sometimes feel like the authorities will never fix this. Because I might just be weird when I say this, but it seems to me that authorities are involved in this shit even. They make the side money, they get their bribes and shit, they get their dick sucked too. I think the authorities will never really do anything. Dude, 19 kids just got shot in the US. You think anything is gonna change, man? Thoughts and prayers, we're gonna do something, yeah, until the next shooting, man. What I always think is a solution to it, that each and every one here watching, you and me, if you ever have kids, you gotta teach these kids to be a decent human being, man. If you have, let's say you have 2 sons, or 1 son and a daughter, and you teach them to be a good human being, don't do bad shit, right? Don't be an asshole in society. You already created 2 new humans that are not doing bad shit like this, right? They're not gonna shoot schools up. They're not gonna take prostitutes from Romania. They're not gonna torture Uyghurs in West China, man. Sometimes I feel like that's the only solution, to do your part for the next generation, to give them the tools in their brain to not become cunts like this.
You know, you have to look at them as victims. They have to be believed.
As a result of our investigation, it empowered the all-party parliamentary group to once again push the Home Secretary into the idea of criminalising the purchasing of sex and decriminalising the victims.
The recent figures came out, you know, talking about the situation remains dire. Even to this day, I'm still getting messages saying that, you know, we moved to a different address and that there's a party happening in Mayfair. So that's why when people say, has things changed, I think, well, maybe not, because I'm still getting these texts.
Man, this seems so unprofessional, man. They make like 8 minutes and they don't really talk much. This always feels, I don't know. These Vice documentaries seem very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very, very, let's get like quick views. Like they're doing a good job. They're exposing something important, but it's, I don't know. It's so simplified. Yeah.